Welcome to the Elderly Counsel channel, and today we will talk about such an important topic as intelligence, cognitive functions, and everything related to them. Let's not drag on, let's improve your life. Recognizing the subtle signs, the brain's quiet whispers before the storm. Many people assume cognitive decline begins with something dramatic, forgetting a family member's name, wandering off and getting lost, or being unable to manage basic finances. But in reality, these are late signs. The earliest clues are far more subtle, and they're often dismissed as stress, fatigue, or just aging. Today, I want to walk you through the lesser-known indicators of early cognitive decline and explain why they matter. Because when we know what to look for, we can act earlier, plan wisely, and improve quality of life not just for ourselves, but for our families as well. The problem: we miss the early signs of decline because they're so ordinary. Here's the difficult truth: cognitive decline often begins not with forgetfulness, but with a change in thinking patterns. Let me explain with clarity. The early signs rarely announce themselves. Instead, they appear like this. You begin taking longer to follow conversations, especially in noisy places. You find it harder to switch tasks, especially if someone interrupts you midway. You start repeating stories, not realizing you've told them before. You struggle to find words, a name, an object, even everyday vocabulary. Your once fluid ability to make decisions or plan an event feels sluggish and overwhelming. Now, these are things that can happen to anyone, especially when we're tired or stressed. But when they begin to show up more frequently, more consistently, and without clear reason, then it may be something deeper. The brain's executive system, the real, early detector. To truly understand why these symptoms appear first, you need to know about a region of the brain called the frontal lobe. This part governs your executive functions, your ability to plan, focus, manage time, remember instructions, and switch between tasks. When cognitive decline begins, it often starts with these executive functions. The reason is physiological. As we age, blood flow to the frontal lobe naturally decreases. In some cases, tiny, imperceptible strokes or buildup of tau proteins, in the case of early dementia, start affecting the region's function. What does that look like in daily life? You find it harder to organize your day. You might feel overwhelmed by choices, even small ones, like what to cook for dinner. You stop enjoying hobbies that once brought you joy, not out of boredom, but because they now seem too mentally taxing. These symptoms are not just normal aging. They are warning signs. Quiet, but crucial. Language, memory, and the concept of cognitive load. Another often missed sign is trouble with language and word retrieval. It's not just about forgetting a name, it's about feeling like your vocabulary has slowly thinned. Words hover just out of reach, especially when under pressure. You may talk around a word, saying that thing you use to flip pancakes instead of spatula. Why does this happen? As the brain ages or begins to decline, its ability to process under cognitive load is reduced. In other words, when you're trying to think, listen, respond, and remember, all at once, the system starts to falter. And language, which is a high-demand cognitive function, is one of the first things affected. People often describe this as brain fog. But it's more than that. It's a degradation of fluency, speed, and mental agility. Advice: what to do when you notice these changes. Here's the good news: noticing these changes early gives you options. While you cannot reverse all age-related decline, you can slow its progress, strengthen what's still working, and support brain health. Here's what I recommend, and why. 1. Begin a formal brain health journal. Keep a notebook where you track moments of memory lapses, difficulty completing tasks, confusion in familiar settings, mood changes or irritability. Why it helps: it builds awareness. Often, we forget that we forgot. A journal allows you to see patterns over weeks and months, which you might miss day to day. It's also invaluable for doctors, who can use this record to assess your cognitive baseline. 2. Talk to your primary doctor. Don't wait for a crisis. Most people delay this conversation. But discussing early changes with your physician is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Why it helps. Many reversible conditions mimic early dementia, such as vitamin B12 deficiency, thyroid disorders, or medication side effects. A medical workup can rule out these issues. 3. Do not rely on memory alone, externalize your life. Start using structured tools. A large print wall calendar. Sticky notes with daily reminders. A pillbox with alarms. Phone voice memos for appointments. Why it helps. These cognitive prosthetics reduce mental load. By using external aids, you preserve your brain's limited energy for higher level thinking. This is not cheating, it's intelligent adaptation. 4. Move your body to help your mind. Begin a routine of 20 to 30 minutes of physical activity per day. This could be walking, stretching, tai chi, or swimming. Why it helps. Every single study on brain aging confirms this. Movement increases blood flow to the brain, enhances neuroplasticity, and slows the shrinkage of the hippocampus, a key memory center. 5. Train your focus, don't just do brain games. While puzzles and games are fine, the real power lies in deep focus. Practice reading for 20 minutes without distraction. Learn one new thing per week, such as a recipe or a poem. Why it helps. Deep learning strengthens the connections between neurons. It forces the brain to focus, recall, and make associations, all of which are protective against decline. When the mind quietly changes, so do you, the emotional weight of subtle cognitive decline. There's a silence that follows the early signs of cognitive change, not just in the brain, but in the person. And if you've ever felt it, you know exactly what I mean. This silence creeps in quietly. You begin to withdraw from conversations. You hesitate before volunteering a thought. You second guess whether you've already said something out loud. And slowly, you start to question, is something wrong with me? Or am I just tired? Let's go deeper. 1. The first emotional shift, self-doubt. In the earliest stages of cognitive decline, people don't usually say, I'm losing my memory. Instead, they say things like, I don't feel like myself lately. I've just been off. I used to be sharper, I don't know what's going on. This feeling often stems from self-doubt, a kind of quiet erosion of confidence that comes from subtle changes in processing speed, memory, or communication. Why this happens? Cognitive changes, even small ones, affect how quickly you can retrieve information, how well you can focus, or how easily you find the right words. When these once effortless mental tasks become slower or less reliable, people begin to second-guess themselves. This leads to hesitancy, withdrawal, and often frustration. Advice. Begin talking to yourself differently. Swap, I can't remember anything anymore, for, I need a system that supports me better. Language changes the way the brain responds. Self-criticism increases cortisol, stress hormone, which can actually impair memory even further. Compassionate inner dialogue, on the other hand, supports brain function by calming the nervous system. 2. The social pullback, avoiding conversations and connection. Here's something I hear often from caregivers and loved ones. She used to love chatting, now she just stays quiet. He avoids the phone. Says he's too tired, but I think something else is going on. What's happening here isn't apathy, it's anticipatory embarrassment. When someone feels they might forget a name, lose their place in a conversation, or misstate something, they begin to preemptively withdraw. Not because they don't care, but because they fear looking foolish or becoming burdensome. The brain, when under stress, prioritizes self-protection. Avoiding social situations becomes a way to avoid shame or vulnerability. Advice. Create safe communication zones. Choose quiet, low-distraction environments for deeper conversations. Use slower pacing. Ask open-ended but low-pressure questions. And for yourself, do not apologize for forgetting. Instead, normalize it, I'll need a second to remember, or, give me a moment, it's in there somewhere. One of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is to stay socially engaged, even when it feels harder. Why? Because social interaction activates nearly every area of the brain at once: language, memory, emotional processing, and sensory coordination. It is one of the most powerful protectors against decline. 3. The loss of identity. Who am I if I'm not sharp anymore? This is where the emotional impact of cognitive changes cuts deepest, not into function, but into identity. Many older adults who begin to experience these changes have been highly capable, independent, articulate individuals their whole lives. They managed businesses, families, finances, and complex responsibilities. When they start to fumble with details or feel slow in conversation, it can feel like a betrayal of who they are. The real pain is not just the lapse, it's the loss of self-trust. Neurologically speaking, memory and identity are intimately linked. The hippocampus, responsible for memory consolidation, plays a role not just in remembering facts, but in remembering who we are. That's why when memory falters, a deeper part of us feels unstable. Advice: reaffirm your identity in ways that aren't tied to mental sharpness alone. You are more than your ability to recall a name. You are your values, your compassion, your resilience, your life experience. Create a living legacy journal. Each week, write down one memory, one lesson, or one story you would want to pass on. It can be simple: how you met your partner, how you raised your children, how you overcame something difficult. This is not only therapeutic, it builds cognitive reserve by engaging memory, narrative, and emotional processing together. And it reminds you, page by page, that you are still whole, even if your mind works differently now. 4. Relationship strain. When others don't see what you feel. Perhaps one of the most isolating parts of early cognitive decline is that others don't always recognize it, or worse, they dismiss it. You might hear things like, "You're just tired." That happens to all of us. "You've always been forgetful." While these comments may come from a place of comfort, they can feel invalidating, especially when you know something has changed, even if it's hard to explain. Family members often don't see these signs until they become disruptive. That lag can create emotional distance, resentment, or a sense that you're not being taken seriously. Advice: be clear, but not confrontational. A simple script can help. "I'm noticing that my thinking feels different lately. Not in a dramatic way, but enough that I want to pay attention to it. I'd appreciate your support, just in being patient, not rushing me, and helping me track things." That kind of honesty does two things. It builds trust and opens the door to helpful conversations later. It gives your loved ones permission to care, without fear or awkwardness. Sometimes it's not even about solutions. It's about being seen. Feeding the mind, strengthening the aging brain through daily habits. By now, we've talked about how early cognitive decline begins, and how it quietly reshapes the way we think and feel. But here's where we shift direction, into action. Because although we cannot turn back time, we can dramatically slow the brain's aging process by understanding what it needs most. This is where medicine meets habit. Science meets rhythm. And your daily routine becomes your most powerful therapy. 1. Brain-first nutrition, fueling the organ that never sleeps. Let's begin with food. Because your brain is not only the most powerful organ in your body, it's also the most demanding. Despite accounting for only about 2% of your body weight, your brain uses up over 20% of your daily energy. And what kind of energy you feed it determines how well it functions, especially as you age. What the brain needs most. Omega-3 fatty acids, these essential fats, found in fatty fish like salmon, walnuts, and flaxseed, are critical for maintaining the structure of brain cells and reducing inflammation. Antioxidants, found in berries, leafy greens, turmeric, and dark chocolate, they fight oxidative stress, one of the primary drivers of age-related brain cell damage. B vitamins, especially B6, B12, and folate, these are involved in neurotransmitter function and protecting against brain shrinkage. Low B12 levels, in particular, are linked to memory problems. Complex carbohydrates, the brain runs on glucose, but the source matters. Oats, sweet potatoes, and legumes provide slow-releasing glucose that keeps the mind alert without sudden crashes. What to limit? Refined sugar. High sugar intake has been shown to increase the risk of cognitive decline, especially when it spikes and crashes your blood sugar throughout the day. Excess sodium and trans fats, both impair vascular health, reducing blood flow to the brain and increasing the risk of silent strokes and memory loss. Daily habit advice. Start your day with a brain-protective breakfast, oatmeal with walnuts and blueberries. Add leafy greens to at least one meal. Drink plenty of water. Dehydration affects brain function faster than you might expect. 2. Sleep, the night shift of cognitive repair. Sleep is not rest. It's repair. And without it, even the healthiest brain begins to malfunction. During sleep, especially deep, slow wave, and REM sleep, the brain performs critical functions. It consolidates memories. It clears toxins, including beta amyloid, which is the same protein that accumulates in Alzheimer's disease. It resets emotional regulation and decision-making circuits in the frontal lobe. Studies have shown that just 1 week of poor sleep can mimic the cognitive decline seen in mild dementia. That's how sensitive the brain is to disrupted sleep patterns. What helps? Stick to a sleep schedule, even on weekends. Avoid screens and bright lights an hour before bed. They suppress melatonin. Use chamomile or magnesium-rich snacks, like a banana or warm almond milk, to promote relaxation. Ensure your bedroom is cool, dark, and quiet. The brain sleeps best in a calm environment. If you frequently wake up at night or feel groggy despite a full night's sleep, talk to your doctor about screening for sleep apnea, which is common in older adults and closely linked to memory issues. 3. Physical movement, rewiring the brain from the feet up. One of the most overlooked strategies for brain health is movement. And I'm not just talking about exercise for the heart, I'm talking about exercise for the brain. When you move, your brain responds in powerful ways. It increases blood flow to the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, areas responsible for memory and focus. It stimulates neurogenesis, the formation of new brain cells, yes, even after 60. It improves insulin sensitivity, which protects against diabetes, a major risk factor for dementia. It boosts BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a protein known as miracle grow for the brain. Daily habit advice. Walk for 20 to 30 minutes a day, ideally outdoors in natural light. Add balance and coordination exercises, Tai Chi, dancing, or simple one-leg stands. Do light strength training, even with resistance bands or water bottles, twice a week to preserve muscle mass and oxygen delivery. Every step you take sends more oxygen to your brain. And that oxygen is what allows your brain to stay alert, form connections, and regenerate. 4. Routine, repetition, and the neuroplastic brain. Here's something many people don't realize: the aging brain craves predictability. Why? Because routines reduce the mental load. They allow your mind to operate efficiently without constantly recalculating what to do next. Even more importantly, consistent repetition of tasks strengthens neural circuits. This is called neuroplasticity. Whether it's brushing your teeth, making tea, or walking the same path each morning, consistency builds cognitive resilience. Advice. Have a fixed morning and evening routine. It grounds the brain. Create stations in your home, keys always in one spot, medications in another. This trains spatial memory and reduces disorientation. Practice repetitive learning, for example, reread the same short poem or prayer each day. Familiarity reinforces recall pathways. It may seem simple, but these actions are neurological training. 5. Stimulate through the senses, the forgotten cognitive fuel. Sight, sound, smell, touch, taste. These are not just sensations, they are brain activators. In early cognitive decline, the sensory parts of the brain often remain functional longer than memory centers. Stimulating these regions can actually improve mood, recall, and attention. How to activate the senses. Smell, use familiar scents, lavender, peppermint, citrus. The olfactory bulb is directly connected to memory. Sound, play music from your youth. This activates the limbic system, boosting emotional memory. Touch, use textured fabrics, hold smooth stones, or keep a soft item nearby. The brain maps meaning to these sensations. Taste, eat slowly. Try new herbs. Chew mindfully, this stimulates jaw sensors and wakes up attention circuits. Sight, surround yourself with vibrant colors, nature images, or family photos. Visual cues help orient and calm the mind. Simple practice. Each morning, take 5 minutes to stimulate all 5 senses. Smell an essential oil, sip warm tea, touch a cool spoon, listen to a calming sound, and look at something meaningful. This isn't just self-care. It's brain care. Thank you for watching the video to the end. We would be happy if you leave a comment so that we can release videos on topics that interest you and improve the content. Elderly Counsel was with you.